Now the latest on this fire working the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk. Our Katie Collette is on the ground with more details. Katie, what can you tell us?
Don, fire crews are on the scene here, and let's explain what these acetylene tanks are. 8 of them, we're told, are here in this area. They belong to the company called Colonial Welding and Fabrication. 8 of those tanks are on the property behind the building, I'm told by Battalion Chief Harry Worley. 4 of them are venting fire right now. Now, Worley tells me acetylene is a gas that when combined with oxygen allows the flame to come out of the torches to properly weld metal together. Now, it is obviously highly flammable, and Harry Worley tells me they're very concerned about a possible explosion. So at the scene right now, firefighters have pulled back, according to Worley, and they're using what they're calling an unmanned system here, which means that the firefighters have put hoses through certain pieces of equipment. And while the firefighters have stepped back a little further away from the scene because it is a fairly dangerous situation here, the hoses are still spraying water on the tanks. Something interesting, Worley tells me they are not trying to put the fire out. Instead, what they would like to do is allow the fire to keep venting. That way they can tell when the fire has basically put itself out, so there isn't a concern of any gas leak. He said they will continue to spray water on all of the tanks to keep the venting tanks cool, and the 4 other tanks right next to those to keep those cool as well. In the meantime, they're continuing to spray water on Colonial Welding and Fabrication and the East Coast Repair buildings. Now, when I'm looking at these buildings, you can see they look like warehouses, which of course is where the welding and repair goes on. So they're trying to make sure that no damage is done to the inside of those buildings. In the meantime, all of those buildings, and again, John, you mentioned that a half-mile radius of the businesses in this area and also homes have been evacuated. Now, we do know that crews are still going around to other buildings and homes to find out if anyone is inside and needs to leave. Again, it's a very dangerous situation here. That's also why they have closed the light rail in this area. This is just off of South Military Highway. So light rail here is not operating because the tracks go right in front of these buildings. Now, the train tracks for some businesses in this area also closed, so it's certainly going to cause a little bit of problems traffic-wise. All traffic in this area is also stopped. As a matter of fact, I've been told that our live truck is the only vehicle that is allowed in this area right now because it's all blocked off. So no one else is allowed in, and we are not allowed off of the property. Again, this is all in the 5800 block of Curlew Drive, Colonial Welding and Fabrication. We've also found this is next to Paraco Gas, which is a propane supplier. So in addition to those acetylene tanks, where the 4 of them are venting fire, I would say about 25 to 30 yards away are propane tanks, which again is another concern to firefighters. They're keeping an eye on that. We have not seen them spraying any fire on those tanks right now. Again, firefighters just have the goal of keeping the tanks cool and allowing the fire to vent so there is no explosion. We will continue to follow this breaking story for you and bring you more details as soon as we get them. Don?
All right, Katie Collette on the phone. Katie Collette, thank you very much. We'll be checking back with you momentarily. Right now on the line we have Chief Harry Worley of the Norfolk Fire Department to give us the latest on this fire working right now in a series of warehouses in the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk. Chief, are you there? We're going to work to reconnect with Chief Harry Worley of the Norfolk Fire Department to tell us about this breaking news, a fire working right now in the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk. We have live pictures from Chopper 10 right now to give you an idea of what the area is involved. And again, there is an evacuation within a half-mile radius of this area, the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk. John Massey standing by right now. Hey, John, what can you tell us?
Good morning, Don. And here we are right above the scene. What you're looking down on is those tanks that they're very concerned about. You can see they are on fire and venting. And what they're doing is they're just standing off spraying water onto the area where the fire is located between the 2 main warehouses and just letting those tanks vent and burn their contents off. And you can see those water hoses are spraying onto the side of the building just to keep the building itself cool and keep any fire from spreading. So in that respect, it is fairly contained to that one central little spot right between the 2 buildings.
John Massey and Chopper 10. We'll connect with him again in just a second. We have Chief Harry Worley on the phone right now from the Norfolk Fire Department. Chief Worley, how serious a situation is this?
Well, we're very concerned about this situation at this point because of the product that's involved, which is acetylene, and that we have several tanks that are involved in venting fire. So we take this pretty serious. The threat of an explosion is very real, and that's why we set up the evacuation zone of a half a.
Chief Worley, can you tell us about the area within that evacuation zone, and what are some of the key places, homes, businesses, or possibly schools that have to evacuate right now? Are any schools in this zone?
You broke up a little bit, Don, but most of this area, I believe you're asking what's being evacuated. Most of this area is an industrial area, but we do have some residential structures in the area that we're going to be doing the evacuation.
If you're just joining us, and Chief, if you can hold for just a second, for those of you that are just tuning in, we have breaking news right now. A fire near a strip of warehouses in Norfolk, the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk, and this is a dangerous situation. The fire department has ordered an evacuation within a half-mile radius of this area, the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk. On the phone with me right now is Chief Harry Worley of the Norfolk Fire Department. Chief, what more can you tell us about this fire, and where exactly is it?
What we got a call earlier this morning that we had a acetylene tank that was on fire. When we got here, we found out that this acetylene tank was part of what we call a cascade system, where there's a series of tanks hooked together that supply acetylene into this business that they use for metal cutting with their torches and all. Right now, we have 5. It was 4. We now have 5 tanks that are venting fire. They have a safety valve on them that allows, when they get overpressured, to release the gas, and that's exactly what we wanted to do as opposed to exploding. We don't want the tanks to explode. We also have 3 or 4 tanks that are not venting that are next to these tanks, and we're trying to keep them cool with water. Because of the safety concerns, we have gotten our firefighters to set up unmanned hose monitors that will allow them to step out of the way and move further away and still spray water on these tanks.
If you're just tuning in, this is breaking news right now. A commercial fire in the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk, and we have on the phone Chief Harry Worley of the Norfolk Fire Department. And for those who are just tuning in, again, Chief, where exactly is this, and what's your advice or warning to anyone who may be driving in the area of the 5800 block of Curlew Drive?
This is 5800 block of Curlew Drive. There is no problem for Military Highway or the interstate, but what we have done as a precaution, we have shut down this section of the light rail so that we don't have the trains going through, and then we are doing evacuations of the structures that are close by.
Chief, we understand that you periodically do surveys of the businesses and residences in any given area, and you have a rough idea of how many people are in there at any given time. Can you give us an idea of what that number is and how many folks you are evacuating? Because we also understand there's a temporary site for people to go to.
Yes, sir. I don't have that information with me at this point, but I know I'll be able to get that to you here shortly as soon as I find it out.
I'm sorry, Chief. Go ahead again.
I said I don't have that exact number right now, but as soon as I can get it, I'll get back to you with it.
And we certainly appreciate that. I'm just trying to imagine, is it like dozens, maybe hundreds of people could possibly be affected by this?
I'm not so sure that I would call it hundreds, but I mean, because this mostly is an industrial site, so most of these folks will be able to get in their vehicles and move out of the way. And in some cases, if they're far enough away, they'll be sheltered in place in the buildings.
And again, Chief, can you tell us exactly what is burning and what is the potential here?
This is acetylene tanks with acetylene gas in them. We have approximately 5 right now that are venting fire, and the gas is on fire, and we are cooling off the rest of the tanks that are in close proximity to the fire.
Now, Chief, we're watching these pictures right now from Chopper 10 over the scene, and we noticed that the firefighters are directing the hoses above the fire and not on it. Can you tell us why they're doing that?
Well, one of the things we are directing fire on the tanks. We don't want to put the fire out, but probably what you're seeing with the hose lines being above it is we want to keep the buildings that may be getting some radiant heat from the flames. We want to keep them cool so those buildings do not catch fire.
And as we look at what's burning and as we try to find out more about it, how many tanks are burning and what's the potential for anything else in that area to ignite?
We have right now 5 tanks that are burning that we are trying to keep it at that level. We also have about 3 or 4 other tanks that are in close proximity that we are keeping cool and hoping that the safety valve does not pop off.
Chief Harry Worley of the Norfolk Fire Department. Before we let you go, Chief, can you give us any advice or any word to the public that may be concerned about this? What do we need to know and what do we need to do?
At this point, I don't know, other than being in the close proximity of here, there shouldn't be any other concern. This is not a fire that is going to produce a tremendous amount of smoke, but the potential for an explosion from one of these tanks is real, and that's why we have actually moved our firefighters down out of the way to keep them safe.
Chief Harry Worley of the Norfolk Fire Department, thank you very much for sharing this time and information with us. We'll be back in touch with you throughout the morning as you fight this fire. Thank you again, Chief.
You're welcome.
You've been watching breaking news here at Wavy News 10. A fire working right now in the 5800 block of Curlew Drive in Norfolk in an industrial area. We're following this all morning. We will keep you up to date throughout the day. The latest on Wavy News 10 midday.